16-year-old Karen Widdoss is brutally attacked.
He pulled a knife out and blood went everywhere.
Karen's ex-boyfriend, Leonard Tilton, beat, stabbed, and strangled her, wrapped her body in a sheet, stuffed her under the bed, and left her for dead. But against all odds, Karen managed to survive.
Wriggle your,
So yeah, I kind of just, with my right hand over my chest, I kind of squeezed my way out from underneath the bed, and then I staggered into my bedroom, and I called 911.
And what did you say?
Well, the dispatcher answered, and I said, I'm being murdered.
As Leonard was leaving, he overheard Karen's desperate cry for help. He ran back to finish her off.
And he grabbed me by my face, and he knocked me off my feet and onto the floor. And then he told me, just die, Karen, let yourself go, let yourself die.
Karen was dying, but despite deep wounds within an inch of her heart, miraculously, she survived. Until her attacker left, this time for good.
I just kept saying to myself, he's not gonna kill me. He's not gonna win.
Somehow, Karen managed to drag her bloody and half-naked body out of her house and over to her grandparents' home a few doors away.
And what happened when you got to Grandma's house?
I walked up their steps and into their house, and my grandfather and grandmother jumped up. And my grandfather grabbed me, and I collapsed in his arms.
Police officer Jim Goodchild lived across the street. He jumped into duty when he saw the horror unfolding just feet from his home.
You see your neighbor walking down the street. What goes through your mind?
The main thing was to find out if he was still in the area. She was able to give me a good description while I was on the phone with police.
Bleeding severely and hovering on the edge of death, Karen was able to tell cops they could find Leonard at a nearby bridge, where he told her he was going to kill himself.
He was, in fact, on the Tacony-Palmyra Bridge about to jump. And they said that when they arrested him, he had a photo in his hand. I actually kind of asked, can I see who it is? Because they didn't know who it was. And I said, that's me. I was beaten so badly that they couldn't recognize me from my photo.
Cops grab Leonard before he jumps. Meanwhile, Karen, fighting for life, but still conscious, is rushed to the hospital.
They made an incision and they inserted a chest tube because I had a collapsed lung. At that point, they didn't know if my heart had been stabbed.
Doctors had little hope she would make it through the night.
Once they had me stabilized, they allowed my family to come in to basically say goodbye to me. The police were just basically waiting around the hospital, waiting for the time of death.
But unbelievably, Karen lived, only to learn something horrific. Leonard had also raped her.
What does that do to your psyche?
It changed everything. Everybody knew that I was raped, but me. I was literally the last person to know. And I remember the first words out of my mouth was, does my mom know? Does my grandparents know? And yeah, they did.
District Attorney Deborah Nash will never forget the moment the case came across her desk.
It was such a vicious assault, and I have actually prosecuted and seen homicide cases where the injuries were much less than what Karen sustained.
But Tilton was not charged with attempted murder. Instead, he faced charges of rape, aggravated assault, and possession of a weapon. Even at the preliminary hearing, he continued his reign of terror.
I gave my testimony of what happened that day, all while my attacker was staring at me from across the courtroom, wearing the same exact boots and shorts and everything that he had on that day. And as soon as I was done giving my testimony and stating what he had done to me, he mouthed the words, "I love you," to me.
Oh my God.
And I told the judge, and the judge told me to just ignore it.
After the hearing, Tilton's bail is set.
The district attorney, the DA, he wanted to raise his bail, and they said, oh, well, he can't afford it anyway, so we'll just keep it at that. And he actually was able to make bail, and he got out on bail.
Shockingly, Karen was never notified that Tilton was out of jail and only found out when she went to her mailbox.
Did he contact you?
Yes. As soon as he was released, he wrote me a letter. And he went on to tell me that I was the only girl that he ever loved, and he's sorry, and how could he do this to me? When the letter came, my mom, we opened it together and we both frantically read the disgusting words that this maniac, it's almost like he thinks he's above the law.
Tilton did indeed appear to think he was above the law. He skipped his bail hearing, and after he was arrested, eventually pleaded guilty to felony charges, including aggravated assault and rape.
Did that surprise you that it was aggravated assault?
Yes, very much. Because it was clearly murder. I mean, he was telling me to die. He stabbed me multiple times. He strangled me multiple times. He beat me in the face until I was unconscious over and over again. Telling me to die, that's murder. I felt like the system was failing me already.
Tilton was this time back in the slammer for a while. But even a cement cell couldn't stop him from terrorizing Karen.
He called you from prison.
Mm-hmm. It was my birthday. I answered the phone and all I heard was, "Don't hang up." And as soon as I heard that voice, I fell to my knees and I just began screaming. And I told him, "Shut up." He then proceeded to tell me that prison wasn't at all what he expected. Instead, it was more like a rest home.
Tilton's plea deal got him sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison, which means after serving 15 years, he's eligible for parole. And under current law, that's not once every 5 or 10 years, that happens every year. So Karen is forced to relive her nightmare each time she fights to keep him locked up.
So Leonard Tilton continues to come up for parole.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find the strength and the courage to keep facing him?
It's just something I have to do. Whether if I want to or not, I have to. I want him dead. I want him dead more than anything in the world.
Now, Karen is fighting to get legislation passed called Karen's Law, which will prevent violent sexual predators from being able to apply for parole.
For my own safety and for everything that I've been through, but for everybody, for any victim that's going through anything even remotely close to what I'm going through.
And Karen's mom, Betty, is convinced that if Tilton ever walks the streets again, he will come back for her daughter and finish the job.
I'm very afraid because I feel that he will find her who want to finish what he started. And I'll do everything in my power to stop him.
If Leonard Tilton is granted his freedom, are you afraid for your safety?
Yes. I may not be sure of a lot of things, but that gut instinct that I used to feel, with that I feel stronger than ever. He spent an hour trying to murder me. It's not over for him.
While Tilton has been in prison, he's continued to write Karen letters professing his love and saying he's going to commit suicide. He also included drawings of skulls. And until she can help pass a law to prevent it, Karen vows she'll be at every parole hearing to make sure Tilton stays where he belongs, locked up. I'm Chris Hansen. If you like this story, make sure you tune in every day to Crime Watch Daily. You can find where the show airs in your city at crimewatchdaily.com. Watch it live or record it on your DVR and watch it at night. And to all those criminals out there, remember, we are watching.